Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Are we on a roll or what? After just riding the much awaited BMW F450 GS, here we are with this motorcycle, the brand new KTM 390 Adventure, which is essentially the 390 Adventure X Plus or X, the latest edition of X, with the new 349cc engine, which Bajaj have introduced so that you can make the most of the new GST norms. The bike is very familiar, gets all the goodies from the 390 Adventure X in terms of you get 6-axis IMU, which means you get cornering ABS, you get traction control, you get cruise control, which even the GS doesn't get. You get a bidirectional quick shifter as standard. Yeah, you get a 1917 wheel setup, not a 2117 like on the S. Alloy wheels, not spoke wheels. And yeah, in terms of the rest of the bike, it's exactly the same 14.5 liter tank. You have the same suspension travel, 200 205 at the front and the back. I think a solid 230 mm of ground clearance. So yeah, the bike is exactly the same. The main reason why we are here is of course to try the new 349cc engine to see if it still delivers the KTM experience. This one still puts out 41.5 PS and 33.5 Newton meters of torque, and they've done that by basically reducing the stroke. So now in terms of the bore to stroke size, this is exactly the same as the new generation of Triumph Speed or the Triumph Scrambler 400X with the new 350cc engine. But this one does make a little more power. What I feel is the mid-range that the 398cc engine had improved dramatically, that again seems to have taken a hit. This one now only gets going after 6,000 RPM. Below that is not the strongest. Yeah, I love the way this handles. It's so neutral. You don't feel the 181 kg curve weight on this at all. Yeah, on the gas, climbing up the hill. Yeah, it's definitely not as exciting as the 398cc engine that we were completely enamored with, and that for me is a little bit disappointing because when I first rode the 390 Adventure X, it did not even get riding modes. Now this one does get riding modes as well, so I'm going to go to that ride mode, rain, off-road. Here we go. Let's see if that makes a difference. Not really. Actually seems quite similar to the street mode. So yeah, I mean, as expected, with the reduction in power and torque, of course it's lost that peppiness which we had come to love from the new 398cc engine, which you can argue is kind of okay, especially given that this motorcycle slots in as primarily a tourer. So let's see then if the new engine fixes the one problem which we had with the 398cc engine, especially on the Adventures, which is vibration. Slow down and accelerate, go. Now, the vibes are also still very much there. Let's see. Yeah, they kick in from around 4500 RPM, disappear and then again come back around 7000 RPM, and yeah, from there onwards they definitely stay on. But I gotta admit that compared to the 398cc engine, these are not as bad. At 100, let's see what happens at 100. Yeah, they're very much there. Fifth gear. Yeah, they do lose their sting a little bit in the fifth and sixth gear, but they are still very much there. but definitely as compared to the 398cc engine, they are not as pronounced. So that's some good news, but it's definitely not as smooth as the Duke 390. There's still something about the resonance of this chassis and the engine which still doesn't get together very, very well. But I'm happy to report that the quick shifter and the blipper seems to be working much better. It's a lot slicker, doesn't take as much effort, and also so far seems to be very predictable and working like it should. Because the problem with the previous 390 Adventure X quick shifter was that it wasn't the most consistent. Sometimes it would engage, sometimes it would not. This seems to be a much better unit on the tractability front. Let's see, fourth gear, how low can we go? Yeah, maybe fourth is a little too high. Let's go down third gear. Yeah, even the tractability is still not the best. I mean, again, this is like a typical high revving KTM engine. It doesn't have the low end. It doesn't like to putter around. It likes to go fast. So again, even though this has the crawl feature, in terms of tractability, it's still not the most impressive. You will have to get used to revving the bike and shifting the gears a fair bit. But talking about comfort, the other things that matter are of course the ergonomics, the windscreen, and from that front, the complaints which I had with the 390 Adventure X continue, because essentially this exact same bike. So above 120, there's still a decent amount of buffeting if you are 5'11" and taller. And secondly, also in terms of ergonomics, the rider's triangle has been built for shorter riders for easy access to the ground. But then for taller riders, if you're 5'11" and more, yeah, the rider's triangle is quite tight, it's quite aggressive, and is not the most comfortable for longer distances, which means your butt will go numb very, very quickly. So again, I felt now that KTM were launching this, they could have probably also addressed these issues which we have highlighted so many times with the different iterations of the new 390 Adventure, the S or the X, but unfortunately these have gone unnoticed. So in terms of braking as well, yeah, these are again nowhere as potent as the brakes on the S, the 390 Adventure S, because you have axial calipers mated to organic brake pads, which rob you of the feel and the stopping power and the bite that you need under emergency braking. So the tramplers, the tires, are something which I'm really happy with, really impressed with. They continue to shine on, but I think that again goes to show that when you have good tires and the braking is still not there, the weak link are definitely the brake pads. But the other thing which has continued to shine on this motorcycle is of course the suspension. The suspension on this obviously not adjustable, but you have enough and more travel to really have this nice plush ride quality to flatten out most of these undulations that you'll see on the road. Ride quality is something which continues to impress on the new 390 Adventure. The biggest loss, which was kind of expected, is in terms of the fun factor which you expect from the KTM brand. With this new engine, it's not there. The engine is very vanilla, it's very flat. It's not like it doesn't have the go. In the higher revs, it does find its feet, but for a touring motorcycle, that's not exactly what you want. You want a motorcycle which has a much stronger mid-range than the top end. So to summarize, the new KTM 390 Adventure is an absolute bargain of a deal at 2.80 lakhs, because you're getting essentially the KTM 390 Adventure X, the exact same motorcycle with all the tech for 50,000 rupees less. And What you're sacrificing in return is a smaller engine, smaller cubic capacity, a little less power and torque, which I don't think the touring audience is going to mind too much, as long as they're okay knowing that they're buying into a high revving KTM motor. Yeah, so the emphasis is going to be more on the mid and top end rather than the low and mid range when you're riding, because that's the one area where this has taken a setback. But at the same time, therein also lies my disappointment, because I feel this bike had so much potential to appeal to a much wider audience, because right now it's essentially designed for shorter riders. For taller riders like me who are 5'11" and taller, the ergonomics are still cramped, the buffeting is still very much there. This is where the competition in terms of the TVS RTX makes a whole lot more sense, because it has a lot more comfortable ergonomics. Or from even Bajaj's own kitty, you have the Triumph Scrambler 400X with the new 350cc engine, which makes about similar power and torque, but it's also a lot roomier, a lot more comfortable than this motorcycle right here for taller riders. So that's the touring part of it. As an enthusiast, I'm definitely disappointed with the change in the cubic capacity, because even though you have gained a little bit in terms of the improvement in terms of vibration, you have definitely lost out on the soul, you know, the whole grunt, the whole spark that we have always associated with KTM motorcycle. This one feels a lot more vanilla, it's not as exciting, it doesn't have the wow factor that we have always wished for and looked up to with the KTM brand. But from a pragmatic front, yeah, the 390 Adventure, if you're 5'10" and shorter, makes a whole lot of sense and is an absolute bargain of a deal.